all the time. Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
And welcome into the John Nabors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios. Appreciate everybody listening in and watching in on this beautiful day here in the great state of Arkansas. I am your host, John Nabors, and thank you as always for making us a part of your afternoon this afternoon. It is a finally Friday show. You got the weekend in front of you, and I know people are excited to actually hit the weekend, and hopefully you got some really fun stuff in store. You know, it's kind of slow with the sports things, and I was actually laughing because yesterday I went to my nephew's flag football game, and I don't know, I got in the mood of like, man, I want to get out there and play. I want to play with those. I get out there and I'll stiff arm some 11-year-olds and whatnot, but that's about as much sports and entertainment as I've been able to watch. Nothing against you baseball fans or anything like that. It's just not kind of the same. But either way, still some things though that go on in the sports world that we'll talk about. We'll also get into a particular question dealing with a what-if scenario or a hypothetical scenario that a lot of Razorback fans had some say in. But I wanted to start off with a little bit of basketball news that is being at least used by me as another avenue to talk about a bigger issue or a bigger topic. And that is the schedule. The Razorback basketball schedule continues to come together. We know that some of the matchups that have been announced have been on marquee ones. Yesterday we talked about with Arkansas and Illinois and how that's going to be a matchup. You're going to have, of course, Arkansas playing SEC teams. You got them playing Miami down there in Miami. So a lot of interesting matchups to happen. And the some of the news came out with John Rothstein, who seems to be on top of this when it comes to the Arkansas schedule. There was another game that was added. Now, I'm going to be honest, it's not exactly the marquee matchup that maybe you were expecting. However, it's still something of note because he went on Twitter and he said that Arkansas will be facing off against Central Arkansas, UCA, this year in Little Rock. North Little Rock, it actually should be. Trust me, as someone who lived in the city of Little Rock for 4 years and had to talk on the radio for 4 years, there was a few things that I learned. It is Cantrell, not Cantrell, and there is a difference between Little Rock and North Little Rock, and they will let you hear about it. So whoever thinks that's the case, just John Rothstein, just know, hey, man, it's North Little Rock. That's neither here nor there. But still, they're going to be playing at Simmons Bank Arena, and this has been an ongoing thing that Arkansas always plays a game in Simmons Bank Arena. They don't always play their best. I think that's kind of the common theme for a lot of things, and people can get frustrated by it. And last year, when Arkansas played that game, they were able to win barely. Like, it was one of those deals where I think Arkansas went 10-plus minutes without scoring. It was so weird, so bad, and they had kind of a delay to the start of the game because the lights weren't fully on. I don't know. It was just a crazy thing. But there's always been some madness to go along with that game. A few years ago, Arkansas lost to Hofstra, which, ew. I mean, just ew. And then even I believe, and hopefully I'm not wrong about this because I say stuff all the time that makes me look like an idiot, but I believe that the game where Nick Smith kind of re-injured himself or was out for a significant period of time was actually at the Little Rock game that they played. So again, I could be wrong about that. I'm pretty sure I'm right. But still, weird things have happened. I'm not blaming the facility. I'm not blaming Central Arkansas, so don't get it twisted. I'm just looking at some of the things of note that came out of those games. And now we know that Arkansas will be facing off against UCA. It's not an official date just yet. I think most people can probably put it together that it will be in the month of December. It certainly seems like that's the case. But overall, the schedule is continuing to move forward because Arkansas has got not only UCA, but Illinois, Miami, Michigan, and Oakland. Those are the games that of note that people are aware of at this point in time. And, certain ones are going to be special occasions, special events. That's what happens when you got Cal as your coach. You're going to have all of that. But you're probably reading the title of this stream. You're probably reading the segment or the YouTube video or whatever it is you want to say. And you're getting frustrated and you're getting mad and you're rolling your eyes in the back of your head being like, oh, we've been over this. Why are we talking about this again? Folks, I'm not trying to, nor am I going to turn this into the great stadium debate. That's not the intent of me bringing this up. Because forever, Arkansas, and especially in football, has played in Little Rock, in the Central Arkansas area. And for those of you maybe of the younger generation, maybe you don't realize it or understand it, but there were times, much heated debate about Razorbacks having home football games in Little Rock. And still to this day, they're having home games in Little Rock. The first game of the season this year is going to be on a Thursday night against UAPB. And I believe, and I think that if you just look at the evidence and use common sense, the game in 2025 against Arkansas State, which at this point in time is still scheduled as planned. Who knows what football is going to look like in scheduling, because who knows, they may move to a 9-game SEC schedule. I don't know. But that game in 2025 against Arkansas State will be the last home regular season football game that the University of Arkansas Razorbacks will play at War Memorial Stadium. That is what I believe. Some of you may hate that. Some of you may love it. Some of you may not care. But that is going to be the final game that gets played down there. And when that happens, there's going to be a lot of sadness. There'll be a lot of nostalgia, people bringing up old great memories and everything. But I'm going to be honest about this. And this was something that I always hesitated to do when I was on the radio in Central Arkansas, just because of how people would take it. But so hopefully you don't take it the wrong way. But I grew up in Fayetteville. Okay. I grew up in Fayetteville, and I never really went to many. I went to some, but many games at War Memorial Stadium growing up. I remember, seeing one of the very first games I went to in Fayetteville back when they had it was just on one side of the field was a double deck, and then the other side of the field was a longer single deck, and that was it. You had a little scoreboard over here. You could see everything. You have like a 360 view, essentially, and that was it. That was all it was. And then they did renovations in 2001, and then more renovations here recently. They got the Jumbotrons. They've really upped the game and upped the facilities and continue to build there. And, I'm not sitting here and saying that the Razorback Stadium is like the nicest stadium in all of the SEC, but I'm telling you, of all the SEC stadiums I've been to, Arkansas is definitely like up there. It's in the top half of the SEC. Even Georgia, which I'm not crapping on Georgia. I'm not trying to, but even Georgia, it was very loud. The atmosphere was incredible. 100%. And it was all beautiful. And the facility was even, is a good size and everything, but it wasn't anything spectacular. They had like one, it sounds so spoiled, but it's like they had only one decent sized HD screen up there, and that was it. I wasn't that impressed. So, it kind of just makes you think about where you're at with your own stadium and how you feel about it. But overall, Arkansas definitely has upped their game. And unfortunately, at War Memorial Stadium, it hasn't really had the upgrades. And it's not anyone's fault, so don't make me think like I'm just crapping on War Memorial. It's no one's fault. Because you're not going to, if you're down there as part of I'm pretty sure it's still Parks and Rec that run it. Like, you're not going to flood millions of dollars into renovations of a stadium that's only getting used by the Razorbacks one time a year. And usually it's not a high-level opponent. Like, you're not going to do that. That doesn't make sense. But if you're also Arkansas, you're like, why are we playing in this place? There was a time for it, because for those you may not remember, the reason why they played so many games in Little Rock to begin with was because Fayetteville did not have lights. The stadium, Razorback Stadium, did not have lights, but War Memorial did. And so that's really where it connected. And then just over time, slowly but surely, you've had less and less and less and less and less games being held there. So you've had that. And then basketball has been held at Alltel Arena, which then became Verizon Arena, which then became Simmons Bank Arena, really since that thing's been built. I mean, there's been games there. They even had some random games in history that were at Barton Coliseum. Old Barton. Yeah. They had games there. And I know it's not directly in Little Rock or North Little Rock or whatever, but one of the most iconic Razorback basketball games of all time was held in Pine Bluff. If you can think about that, like when Arkansas beat Michael Jordan and the North Carolina Tar Heels, they were number 1 in the country. Arkansas beat them in Pine Bluff. From what I understand with that story, they made an agreement where they're not going to do a home and home, but I think Arkansas, when they played in Carolina, they played actually in Charlotte. So it wasn't a home game for them. And then I guess that was the place that they decided to play was Pine Bluff in that game. And again, ended up being one of the most iconic games in Razorback basketball history. And then on to baseball. Baseball has played in Dickey Stevens Ballpark pretty much every year. And women's basketball is also played there at Simmons Bank Arena and all of that. So I'm saying all that to give kind of a background of it's not rare. It's not out of the norm for Arkansas to have their sporting events historically outside the Northwest Arkansas area, outside their home arenas and stadiums in Fayetteville, and have them in other places across the state. But the problem is that there's always been constant debate about whether or not it's necessary, whether or not it's warranted, and whether or not people want to do it. And I'll talk about some of the reasons why and also give you my thoughts on it because I've changed my mind a little bit over the years, if you can believe it. But before we do that, I got to tell you about our friends over at L. Jennings Law. Process, right? Process. Trust the process. You've heard about that. It's all about the process when it comes to on or off the field in sports, but also when it comes to law. And that's where L. Jennings Law steps in with a proven process that covers every detail. They ensure that no aspect of your estate planning is overlooked. From drafting your last will to setting up a family trust, their team makes sure everything is in place. Trust the L. Jennings Law process and an estate plan that protects your loved ones and gives you a peace of mind. And you can contact them today by calling 501-501-WILL. That's 501-501-9455. You can also check them out at ljenningslaw.com. But if you need somebody who specializes in trust, business planning, and elder law, it's the fine folks over at L. Jennings Law. Call them today at 501-501-WILL. That's 501-501-9455. Okay, so getting back to the point of the Central Arkansas, the whole thing. It doesn't need to be Northwest Arkansas versus Central Arkansas. I felt that when there's a complex in this state. When I first started doing radio in Fort Smith and in the River Valley, love my time there, I could feel that there was a complex towards me because I was from Northwest Arkansas. Oh, you're one of those that you just think you're better than everybody because you're from up there where all the businesses are moving and all the media companies are at and all the excitement and the action and gets voted on as the best place to live. You think you're better than everybody. I'm like, no, I just don't know any better. Like that's the only, it's where I grew up. I didn't have a choice in the matter. And then I went to Little Rock and worked there for 4 years. And even there was a complex where it's like, oh, the Northwest Arkansas. Okay, well, we used to be the biggest game in town. We used to be where everything was at and, all the football games were and, the biggest airport and everything's like, we used to be this, that, and the other. And now, oh, you're Northwest. So you think you're better than everybody. I'm like, no, I don't. I've never once looked up when I was in Fayetteville, being like, well, oh, down there in Little Rock. I don't know about that. I don't know. Oh man, Fort Smith and Greenwood. No. I will not be caught dead in one of those places. Because if that was the case, I wouldn't have worked there and I wouldn't have moved there. Now, granted, I'm back in Fayetteville, but because of my job and because of my career, when I'm talking about the Razorbacks, I think the place that makes the most sense is to be where the Razorbacks are at. But we could spend a whole nother time on that. The point is that you see people feel a certain way across the state about complexes, about other areas or stereotypes or whatever. And it kind of builds into how people think and how people feel. So I was never that way when it came to Northwest Arkansas versus Central Arkansas. However, I was that way when it came to Razorback Stadium and War Memorial Stadium. As a kid growing up, it just never made sense to me. I'm like, it's dumb. Why are we playing games there? Why are we playing LSU there? And this stadium that's, much smaller and not as nice. that makes no sense to me. And I kept fighting it. And then it got to the point to where, because of message boards and how people felt about it and how people were letting me know, I got angry about it almost, where I'm just like, I'm going to fight till the death. I'm going to give you every reason. And I'm going to, I had friends that came up to the U of A from Little Rock, and they just debated me on it the whole time. And, I would get fired up about it and everything. Well, to be honest, I softened my stance a lot on that, because after living in Little Rock for about 4.5 years that I did, I saw a lot of the reasons why people loved it so much. And I saw firsthand a lot of the people that had a chance to see the Razorbacks for the first time and had a chance to, not have to travel all the way up to Northwest Arkansas. I saw that there were some things, so I softened my stance. And I still believe to this day that home games need to be played in Fayetteville, but I am at least not angry about it. Like, I at least have some sort of sympathy in it, at least at this point in time. But I don't feel that same way in other sports. In fact, I believe in other sports, basketball, baseball, gymnastics, softball, whatever sport you want to throw out. I think it's incredible and really good to play and to have meets, matches, games, whatever, not only in Central Arkansas, but in various areas of Arkansas, if you can. I think it's awesome. I think it is awesome when Razorback Baseball goes down to Dickie Stevens Ballpark and plays. I think it's awesome that Razorback Basketball goes to Simmons Bank Arena and plays a game, both men and women. I think it's awesome. And you're probably like, well, why do you feel that way about football and why not the other sports? Because again, it's not a Northwest Arkansas versus Central Arkansas thing. You can't, it's not like politics where it's like you have to be on one side or the other, and everything that is agreed upon is like, it means you can't have any other opinions. You can't, look between the lines and like make it where you can meet in the middle on some things or have some different opinions on it. Like, that's how I look at it. It's just not that intense. It's more of me looking at it and saying, okay, people really love this. Why do they love it? And also looking at it from, okay, but the U of A, the teams, are they benefiting from it? What do they get out of it? And what type of toll is it taking? All that stuff. Because what it comes to me is, it's simply this. It's money. I know maybe you don't agree, but it is. It's money. And the amount of money you lose not having a game in Fayetteville in football, while also having to pay another place to do that and to travel all the team, the cheerleaders, the band, all the travel expenses, all the cost. It's like, I feel like that money could be utilized a lot better elsewhere. That's my opinion on it. I try to look at it logically. But you're like, well, the same thing has to happen for basketball and baseball and all that. And you're right. But the difference is that not only are there a lot more games to be played at Bud Walton Arena or at Baum Walker Stadium, but you also have opportunities to where it's not going to take away so much revenue that you have by missing out on one home game up there in Fayetteville and playing in another facility. The teams aren't as big. In basketball, you're traveling 13 people. In football, you're traveling 85. So, you save money there. It's just not as it's not as big of a deal. It's not as much of a cost and as much of a burden to do that. So I look at it from the business perspective. That's all. I just look at it from the business perspective. I respect it. And that's why I also like it, because it still gives those areas. Because I believe the state of Arkansas, the Razorbacks need to be for everybody, not just the Northwest Arkansas corner. It's 4 corners of the state. You're going to find Razorback fans everywhere. And if you can make it work, and if you can make it make sense, logic and everything, like if you can make it make sense, then you need to have games across the state. Like, I wouldn't mind it if they played a game in Hot Springs. I think that'd be cool. Or Pine Bluff again, just whatever. But football is the sport that needs to stay in Fayetteville because of the amount of money that's made. And recruiting visits are crucial and vital and important. And to get up and travel for a home game when you're already losing a game in Arlington, it's just not ideal. It's not ideal. But again, I respect it a lot more. And that's where I come into this, and that's why it's different. Like the fact that Arkansas basketball is playing UCA and Simmons Bank Arena, love it. I'll be there. I can't wait. It's going to be awesome. But they're playing other teams in football, like when UAPB or Arkansas State. No. You want to play games? You want to play against Arkansas? You play in Razorback Stadium. There's too much money at risk. There's too much money on the line, and you got to figure that out. Folks, we'll continue on here in just a little bit, but I got to tell you about Superior Contracting and Development. They are licensed residential and commercial contractors specializing in all aspects of home building and remodeling. They handle everything, really, from fencing and drainage, additions to remodeling of your existing structure, all the way to land development, as well as ground-up construction. You can call them today for all of your interior and exterior construction and remodeling needs. It's a very simple thing. You just call their number right there. It's listed, 501-453-3053. It's 501-453-3053. You can also visit their website at superiorcontractingar.com. But no matter what it is, when it comes to your contracting and your development of license, and you need a licensed residential commercial contractor, they're the people to call as they service the entire state of Arkansas. So call them today at 501-453-3053.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
All Natty, all the time. Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
All right, so continuing on with the John Nabors Show here live from Natty State Sports Studios, we're going to talk a little bit about the hypothetical question that's so much fun to talk about during the summertime when there ain't much else really going on. And we'll get to that here in just a segment. Folks, I got to tell you first about Alumni Hall, the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. We know that as a Razorback fan, it's about the look. It's about the hog. It's about the logo. It's about the right logos. You know, there's certain logos we don't really like as much as others. But no matter what it is, old school logo, new school logo, Alumni Hall has you all covered. Not only do they have T-shirts and polo shirts and button-ups, but they got everything. I mean, it's really over the top, almost borderline overwhelming how many Razorback apparel items that they have to choose from, as well as decor. And they have it for men and for women and for kids. So no matter who it is, for the whole family, you're going to get squared away and get taken care of whenever you go over to Alumni Hall right there in Fayetteville off North College Avenue. But a lot of you who want to have that great apparel that Alumni Hall is able to offer, you're like, I don't know. Like, how do I do this? What do I need to do? I can't get down there to Fayetteville very easily. Well, don't you worry. If you go to nattystatesports.com/Alumni Hall, that's nattystatesports.com/Alumni Hall. If you go there, you'll be able to check out their entire catalog and have it delivered and shipped straight to your door. So Razorback fans, get on top of it, get after it, and get it with Alumni Hall. It's the ultimate Razorback shopping experience. And speaking of the Razorbacks, you know, it's summertime. I keep bringing that up just because it's, you know, kind of crucial to my point of my excuses for bringing up hypothetical questions that I think it's great for content. Like some people always leaned into not saying anything like, no, we can't say that we can't just talk about other random things. It's boring. It's like, no, it's not. It sparks discussion, and discussion is really what I like having the most. Like, I know it's just me talking mostly on this show, but discussion and decorum and all that is just so much fun. So anyways, I saw a video this morning. Someone posted a highlight, I guess. I guess it was Matt Jones. And it was one of these crazy plays that he had. Again, I wish I could show it if I wasn't going to get demonetized. But it was one of these crazy plays that he had to where he, you know, made some crazy moves and got in the end zone when he was about 3 yards out. And it kind of started making me wonder about certain situations. And so I came up with this simple question. You can read it right here, but it's 4th and goal from the 3-yard line. The Razorbacks are down by 4. There's 1 second left on the clock. So this is it. One play to score a touchdown from 3 yards out. That's it. You get to choose any Razorback in all of Razorback history, like in football history, all of it. Any Razorback, of course, in their prime, not now, while they were a player. Who are you giving the ball to? Who's getting the ball in their hands to make a play 3 yards out, game on the line to win the game? And the amount of responses I got to this was actually pretty cool. Not to say that it was so like hotly debated or anything like that. I think that there were some points being made, But it was pretty amazing just to see where people are like coming from. Some of them were really sarcastic. So, I mean, which I get that whenever that happens. But still, it was really cool to see the different responses. So here's my thing is like, I'm going to give you my top three if you want to use it that way. I'm going to give you my top three. And I'll start with number one because I think my number three may surprise you. Because to me, the top two are obvious. Some of you did not use these top two, and maybe you didn't because it was too obvious. But to me, the top two are obvious, and they're really close, and I'm not going to debate you if you go with one over the other. But my number one is Matt Jones. Matt Jones 9. And that was a play that I saw this morning that he ran when I was just getting all the sort of the nostalgia. I was like, man, oh man, how much fun he was to watch, and how much fun he was to see what he would do next and the improvisation that he had. It was so impressive and so much fun. You don't really realize what you have until he's gone, and he's such ahead of his time. But the reason I say Matt Jones and not Darren McFadden, who is my second, and I'll talk about him in a second. But the reason I say Matt Jones is because there were very few players that were able to be not only incredibly gifted athletes, but incredibly clutch, where big-time pressure situations never got to them. Not once. I mean, if you think back to his career at Arkansas, the only time, and I'm meaning this in a complimentary way, the only time I can think of where he did not come up big for Arkansas in a very crucial moment was in his final year against Texas at home in 2004. I know many of you remember that. I remember that. It was September 11th, 2004. It was the 3-year anniversary of 9/11. One of the greatest crowds ever. And one of the things I do remember about that game too is the first game is on ESPN where they had I forgot what they called it, but essentially the overhead cam, the one that has wire to wire and it floats around at the top. It was the first time they ever used that camera. And it was a big old honky thing, man. That thing was massive. And it was so like almost distracting because it was going on, but it was really cool. But either way, he fumbled the ball where if he just would have gone down, Arkansas could have kicked the field goal and gotten up by, I believe they lost 22-20. And with the field goal, they would have still had time on the clock, so things could have changed. But ideally, it would have been 23-22 final score. Arkansas beats Texas for the second year in a row. But he fumbled. And I'm not saying that as an insult to him at all. I'm using that as a compliment because that's the only time. And when you weigh out the pros and cons, and when you weigh out the coming up big and falling short in those big moments, Matt Jones overwhelmingly always came out on top. And there's no better example of that than, well, I guess there could be a few examples you'd use, but the first example I would use, folks, would be the 7 overtime games. Now, granted, he played in 2 7 overtime games and a 6 overtime game, and they lost the 6 overtime game, but that was not because of Matt Jones. Couldn't make the field goal. Hate to see that. But the 2 7 overtime games, you are not in those positions. You are not doing what you're doing. You are not having that success. You are not big timing it. And even going that long distance without Matt Jones. You're just not. Go back and watch those highlights. Go to War Machine 2013's great, like doing the Lord's work of putting all the highlights up for like every Razorback football game and basketball game that's ever existed. But go check out the highlights of those games. And especially the 7 overtimes. Time after time after time after time again, Matt Jones just made plays. Play after play after play. Short yardage, long yardage. Sometimes it was a run from him. Sometimes it was a throw from him. Sometimes it was him buying time and, going backwards and going over there and then just kind of looking around and throwing it into the end zone. Like there was just so many things that you didn't know what he was going to do next. You trusted him though. You're like, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't know what the play call is. I don't know who you're supposed to throw it to. I don't know if you're supposed to run with it. I don't care. Just take the ball and do whatever. And when he did that, it's when he was at his best because he was so even keel. You know, people always kind of give him a hard time about it because he didn't have the emotional passion craziness that some people think that they expected, you know, the Tim Tebows and stuff. Like, that's just not Matt Jones's personality. And, you know, another iconic moment was, of course, with the miracle on Markham. Again, Matt Jones, the offense was not good that game, all game long. And then suddenly when they have 80 yards to go in like a minute, the offense just clicks and boom, there it is. Like Arkansas wins that game. But I always loved it when he completed that pass to DeCorey Birmingham, which, by the way, the headline for the Democrat Gazette that day was just chef's kiss of Jones to Birmingham to Atlanta. It's really good because Arkansas went to the SEC championship that year. But still, like once he made that touchdown pass to DeCorey Birmingham, his reaction was simply just, yeah, like it wasn't like, you know, because if I did that, I'd be going nuts. I'd be doing cartwheels. A lot of people would be. But that was just his demeanor. And it could bother somebody or it could be annoying to somebody, but it wasn't annoying to me. In fact, to me, that's why you wanted him in those clutch situations, because the moment was never too big. He never let the emotions get to him. He never let the craziness get to him. He never let the, oh my gosh, this I got to do this. He never, never was over-tried and overworked himself and overthought things. He just went out there and played ball. That's all he did. I'm just going to go out here and play ball, make a play, hope it works out. And he usually did. And so with his speed, with his way to improvise, with his way to buy time, with his way of, big 6'6" frame, and it's not like he was easy to get down anyways, with his leaping ability to where if he had to dive over somebody or dive to the pylon, to me, he's the guy I want the ball in the hand of. Like, no questions asked. He's the guy that I would want. And we'll talk about Darren McFadden and why I would want him as my second guy, very close second. But first, I got to tell you, folks, about Signature Bank. They are the official bank of Natty State Sports. We know that with everything that's happened in life, we get handed a lot of stuff, and we have to overcome a lot of things. We have to deal with a lot of problems. But one thing we should never have to deal with is our money, our livelihood, being safe and being secure in the hands of the people that we do banking with. And that's why we do it with Signature Bank. Signature Bank has been one of the greatest things that could have happened to us here because they have been so kind and so generous of being able to help us out with all of our accounts, not only just personal, but also business accounts too. So for those of you who are looking to secure your money and being able to go to a place that has everything you could possibly want, being the big size bank with the resources, but not too small of a bank, or not the small, but the small bank vibe to be able to make you feel like you're a person and not just a number, you got to do it with Signature Bank. And they have locations across Northwest Arkansas. They got it in Harrison as well as in Jonesboro. So check them out today. And if you want more information, go to their website at signature.bank. That's www.signature.bank. No matter what it is, though, when it comes to your finances, your personal or business accounts, do it with Signature Bank, the official bank of Natty State Sports. Okay, so I talked about Matt Jones and why I would have him be the guy. So looking out now to number 2, Darren McFadden, which for those of you who said Darren McFadden, I'm not going to argue with you. Like, I'm not going to be like, oh, no way. Because if you give me Matt Jones or Darren McFadden, I'm feeling confident. Like, I feel like I'm probably going to get the game. I'm going to get that play. So don't misconstrue. Like, I'm 100% okay with Darren McFadden. It's like 1A and 1B to me. The only reason I gave it to Matt Jones is just because of his way of improvising and making a play. But between those two guys, though, here's the thing. Is Matt Jones being the quarterback, he's going to get the snap. I'm wanting McFadden to get the snap, too. He's running that Wildcat for me. Now, it's nothing against Mitch Mustaine or Casey Dick. Love those guys, but no, you line up over there or get off the field. McFadden's taking the snap. Because McFadden had a way. I know we all know about how the amazingness of McFadden. And it's also amazing, too, that those players of Matt Jones and Darren McFadden were literally just a year apart. Matt Jones's final year happened. The next year, you get freshman year of Darren McFadden. Just incredible. But when it comes to McFadden, he also was just a gamer. But it wasn't in the way of improvising. It was in the way of, okay, here, I'm going to go get this. Oh, I need 3 yards. Okay, I'm just going to run you over. I need 3 yards. Okay, I'm just going to outrun you. Okay, I need 3 yards. I'm just going to fake like I'm running it, but then throw it on a dime to a tight end or to a wide receiver who's wide open. Like that's what he does. That's what he does. And he's always done that. So, like, again, I wish I could show highlights because there's so many good examples of it. But I'll never, like, one of the things that I remember about McFadden, and it's just, he's not saying every single game he was great in, because even in his final year, I remember they played Auburn, who had a really good defense, but the Auburn kind of shut him down. In fact, when he did not get 100 yards in a game, it was a bad game. Like, that's just how good he was. But one of my favorite moments, it's a lot to choose from, one of my favorite moments of McFadden is in his final year. It was a game that Arkansas lost, unfortunately. But in his final year, they're going on the road against Alabama. It's Nick Saban's first year at Alabama. And Alabama just pounces on Arkansas from the get-go. They're up 21-0 at the end of the first quarter. And it ain't looking great. But Arkansas starts to settle in and kind of mount a little bit of a comeback and everything. And Arkansas's got a little momentum. Well, when McFadden's lining up in the Wildcat, if you haven't been to Bryant-Denny Stadium, like, it's a crazy atmosphere. It's loud. One of the loudest places you could ever watch a football game, and especially with their excitement that they had for Nick Saban being there and going up against the Heisman runner-up and Darren McFadden. But it's a big-time play. Arkansas needs just a few yards to get the first down. And McFadden walks up in his Wildcat, and it's shaking. The place is shaking. And what does McFadden do, before he takes the snap? Does that. Now, we've seen people do that before. Johnny Manziel did it all the time. Like a lot of quarterbacks have done it before. It's like, all that. But that was the only time Darren McFadden ever did that, to my knowledge. And if maybe some of you can prove me wrong, but to my knowledge, this is the only time Darren McFadden ever did anything like that. He played in raucous atmospheres on the road. He always did that. But for whatever reason, when Arkansas gained the momentum back and they needed, I think it was like 2nd and 4 or something like that, he walks up to the line, and he's not a quarterback, mind you, but he walks up to the line and just looks around and says, "Come on, pump you up." And they go crazy, and he snaps the ball, and he just bulldozes over people and gets the first down. The reason why, and I don't want to speak for McFadden, but the reason why I remember that moment, but also why I think that he did that, like when he did that motion, then that was the only time, for a few reasons. But the main reason why is because I think he had confidence in himself, for one, confidence in his offensive line, for two, and confident that whatever he was seeing against that Alabama front, he was not afraid of any of them. You knew it. Everyone knew what the play was. It's Wildcat. You need 3 or 4 yards. The Darren McFadden's snapping the ball and he's just running forward. Like, that's the play. Everyone knew the play. But it didn't matter because he was so calm. He was laughing at you. Oh, you're trying to get to me with the noise level? It's not like I got a cadence I got to keep. It's not like I got to do hot routes over here, doing calling out audibles and stuff and pointing over. I don't have to do anything. Y'all know what's happening. I'm going to take this ball and I'm going to run it up the middle and I'm going to get the first down. And he did. Again, so many iconic moments of Darren McFadden. So many to choose from. But to me, that was one of, if not the greatest moment that I'll never forget. Like, my favorite play, kind of a sidebar here, but my favorite play of Darren McFadden is actually another game that Arkansas lost, unfortunately, but that's what happens when you just nut your coach. Settle. But was actually in 2006, his sophomore year, against LSU in War Memorial Stadium. His 80-yard touchdown run that happened in the third quarter. Because McFadden like showcased his ability all season long. That was the run where he broke the single season record for rushing yards, but also showed against a very, very, very good LSU defense that a simple run up the middle play, and when he hit that fifth gear, those LSU DBs did not expect it. They're like, oh, like they just like they try to jump at him and get him, and they missed. So again, so many moments. But finally, my number 3, again, because I think most of us, and if you're disagreeing with those two, whatever, but I think most people, at least I know from the responses I got on Twitter, feel like it's Matt Jones, Darren McFadden, vice versa, whatever. Here's my third option, though. Stay with me on this. Dennis Johnson. That's right. You remember Dennis Johnson, the running back from Texarkana, played in the Bobby Petrino years. He was a guy that was a true freshman. He was part of that class in 08 and played for Petrino, I guess, or played for Arkansas at least until through 2012. He suffered an injury, and I think it was the first game of the year in 2010, I believe so. And he was out for the season. And Niall Davis took over and did a really good job with it. But Dennis Johnson, and if you may not remember this, again, I always encourage you to go watch highlights. He was a bowling ball. He was like 5'9". He was not big as far as height, but he weighed like 215 pounds. Now, folks, like you got to think about that because all these football players, especially the skill position players, they're muscled out. Like they're not just, they're not 215 like I'm 215. Like they're jacked. And he's 5'9", runs like a 4.38 40, and weighs 215 pounds. There's so many highlights that you could look at, but go watch when Arkansas, again, another game Arkansas lost. I hate that. It's so annoying, but it's true. They shouldn't have lost this one. But go watch that 2009 Arkansas-Florida highlights until you get to the end when Arkansas got screwed. But there are several plays. There's one in particular, but there's several plays where he just bounces off of those defenders. Bounces off of them. There's one play where I think he breaks 4 or 5 tackles. Like solo tackles. And we're talking about D-line, linebacker, safeties, like all of them. And I remember it was on CBS, and Gary Danielson just was like, jeez, he couldn't believe it. But he just kept breaking tackles. And, he had speed. He was a kickoff specialist, and he returned kicks for touchdowns. So he had the speed. But, in those situations, you feel like somebody's going to get to you. Like, if it's 4th down, game on the line, 3 yards out, 1 second left, need a touchdown. Depending on, like, somebody's going to, from the defense, is going to get to you. You're not going to just walk in scot-free. Like, maybe you do. But odds are, especially if you're going up against a really good team, somebody's going to get a hand on you. So if it's me, I already got Matt Jones in the clutch nature that he had. I had McFadden, of course, with the brute strength and confidence that he had, and also him being the greatest Razorback football player of all time. But with Dennis Johnson, man, he had the ability to break tackles. With the speed, he'd just be moving those feet so quick. But people, I don't know if it was just because they expected him to go down so easily, but when you're that low to the ground, you have that speed and you have that much weight coming at you, it's not a pleasant thing. Especially if you're like a linebacker that's 6'3", and you got a guy coming at you that's 5'9", and y'all weigh the same, and he has more speed than you, you're going to see some problems there. So, but yeah, that's probably what I'd go with. I'd go with Dennis Johnson. How about that? Some of you are probably like yelling at me, I can't believe you did do this. Like some of the answers, I'll read a few of them. But some of them, like Josh said, Peyton Hillis, not a bad one either. A lot of people saying Barry Foster, which is not a bad one at all. People saying Quinn Grovey, also pretty good. Some people said KJ Jefferson. Hey, I've seen that KJ Jefferson play from 3 yards out. Seen that movie before. I'm not a fan. Not a fan. Some people said Cody Walker, which is actually in a bad pick because I think it was in 2011, as when he was a true freshman before he got hurt. I think he had like 6 touchdowns on the year, but only like 4 rushing yards, it felt like. Because they'd get it on the goal line, they give it to him, and he'd bust it in. So I think that's pretty good. A lot of ones for McFadden and Jones. Again, those were the ones that were overwhelmingly the ones. Some people even said Felix Jones. Not a bad pick either. That was pretty much it. I thought there was another one that I saw that was kind of interesting. Like some people were saying Joe Adams, and I love Joe, don't get me wrong, but on goal line situations, I don't know if that's the guy that you want the ball in his hands to be. Like maybe so, but it's not for me. Some people said Reggie Fish. Oh yeah, this was this one. It said Raleigh Williams. Here's the thing. Raleigh Williams, people forget, dude, that guy rushed for 1,000 yards in 2016. And I'm pretty sure he has the second most rushing yards in a single game in Razorback history behind McFadden's in that Mississippi State game. I think that game was somewhere he had like 13 carries for like 260 yards, something crazy like that. So yeah, that's not, maybe a wild card pick in there too, but I don't know. I just think that it's got to be Jones or McFadden. Does that mean, is that bad if I just feel like it's that obvious? Maybe so, but I think it's got to at least be one of them. All right, folks, I got to tell you about our friends over at Hopper Termite and Pest, because we know pests are the worst. Trust me, that's why they're called pets. Has anybody ever said, you know what, I actually like pests? No one's ever said that. You know why? Because they call Hopper Termite and Pest and they get it eradicated. They get their pests taken care of. And we know that it's that time of year where you're going to have so much of that going on, so many of those pests coming in and bothering your home. It's not only a risk to your house, to your structure, but it's also a risk to your family's health. Well, don't worry about that anymore. Call Hopper today. You can call them at 479-750-4070. It's 479-750-4070. When you call them, be sure to say that Natty State sent you, or just use the word Natty, because when you do, you get $50 off your first treatment. That's right, $50 off your very first treatment if you just say the boys of Natty State sent you. So they're going to make sure that they get you squared away, get you taken care of, and they're going to get rid of those pests in no time, because that's what you want. You want them out. We all want them out. So get them out with Hopper. You can also check them out on their website at callhopper.com to get more information and see all the different services that they have to choose from. They service the Northwest Arkansas and North Central Arkansas area. Great people, great Razorback fans, and great partners of Natty State Sports. So do it today with Hopper Termite and Pest at 479-750-4070.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
All Natty, all the time. Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports Studios.
All right, so final segment here on the John Nabors Show, and it's going to be, hey, y'all see this? And we'll get to that here in just a second, but let you know that it is brought to you by BroThrow and our friends over at BroThrow.com/Natty. We know baseball, Major League Baseball, still going strong, folks, and a lot of you are big baseball people, but you're also people who like to make money. And why not make money while watching the baseball games with BroThrow.com? It's a little bit different twist than what you're used to when it comes to your sports betting. It's actually a lot more fun because when you go to Natty State Sport, when you go to BroThrow.com/Natty, when you go to that website, you'll be able to see what all the fuss is about because you'll be able to go up against real people with your bets. For instance, the Phillies and the Diamondbacks. They're playing, right? They're playing tonight. Well, Mike feels good by putting $100 down on the Phillies at -1.5 runs. How you feeling about the Diamondbacks? You feeling strong? Feeling froggy? You want to leap? Well, bet on it. Take that bet. Take $100 the other way and then see who ends up winning. And when you do, you settle up via Venmo, via PayPal, via Cash App. They make it really easy for the web app to be able to give the money and settle up, or for you to receive the money, probably the way you'd rather have it. And they do things like spreads, like over-unders, money lines, all of it. And you save a ton of money on the juice. It's not like their BroThrow is some sort of house that's just bringing in all the percentages. Nope. You get to make the most money out of it. So get to betting, get to winning some money with BroThrow.com/Natty. It's free to sign up. It's available in most states, and you must be 21 years or older to participate. So check it out today at BroThrow.com/Natty. All right, let's talk about a few of these stories going on here. I love this. These are the things that I'm for here in summertime. So college football teams are competing with each other to offer the lowest beer prices in the country. So College Football Report here on Twitter said the price of beer at every college football stadium in 2023. Now, this is a new thing, folks, because it's amazing. Like 10 years ago, having beer at a college football game was unheard of. It didn't exist. Maybe in very special occasions. But it's like, it's so common now. Like I remember growing up and going to Razorback football games. All you had was Coke. And then unfortunately for a while you had Pepsi. And that was it. And then all people would do would be sneaking in their booze in their boots or in their bags and whatever, just put together old Jack and Coke and square away. Let's roll. So you had to sneak it in. But you don't have to worry about that anymore because now beer is pretty much available at every single major college football stadium, Arkansas being one of them. But as we also know, it's quite expensive anytime you go to sporting events or concerts or anything like that to buy alcohol. It's overpriced, but you're still going to pay for it. And that's why they make the prices as extreme as they do, is because they know you'll still pay for it. But I was shocked to see some of these prices. So first off, Arkansas is at $10 right here. I feel like $9 is a good price, a fair price. But also, I could be wrong about this, but I believe the $10 at least gets you the tall aluminum bottles, not just a can, but like a tall aluminum bottle of Michelob Ultra or Bud Light or whatever it is. I'm pretty sure. Could be wrong. You can correct me. But that makes it a little bit better. Like if it was $10 for just a normal size can, probably have some issues there. But how about this? Tennessee is the highest priced beer. Why? Like I know that they're going to make the prices as much as what the consumer will pay for it, so they're probably making a killing. But I would just like to know and ask Tennessee, I'd be like, okay, but why are you the most expensive beer prices in major college football? The answer they will give privately would be like, because there's idiots, those idiot volunteer people, they're morons and they'll pay for it. But the public answer they'll give is like, well, because it's about the market price and blah, 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 blah. It's like, man, come on now. So I was a little surprised to see that. But what I was really shocked by is some of these other ones. Like, let's look at this. Let's look at this image in general. Okay. At TCU and Tulane, you can get beer for $3. Excuse me? You can't go to bars and get beer for $3. You can barely go to the grocery store and get beer for $3. $5 at Wake Forest, Louisville, and Oregon and Coastal Carolina. Okay. Kansas and Kansas State makes a little bit more sense at $6 because there ain't much else going on. There ain't much else to do. And they've always struggled to get people in their games anyway. So there you have it. But $7 at South Carolina, Florida, and Auburn. That's sad. Arkansas, we got to figure something out, folks. We got to figure something out. But at the same time, though, because of the North End Zone seats, which I have. Shh, don't say anything. Maybe that's why. But Missouri, or other SEC teams of note, Arkansas, A&M, Alabama are all $10. Missouri is the only SEC team at $9. Oklahoma and Ole Miss are at $8.50. And LSU, Texas, Vanderbilt, Mississippi State, they're at $8. That's pretty much it. So the average right here in the NCAA is $8.34. So Arkansas is above average for their beer prices. Not a good look. Not a good look. But all it's going to take is attendance to start going down, and they'll find ways. Like I suppose in Jurassic Park, have a coupon day. Like maybe have something to where if it's like a game, if it's like who they play this year in that third game? Could just look up a schedule. That third game against that non-conference, non-power 5, the group of 5 opponent. Like, there's probably not going to be a whole lot of people there. Or even the game, like second to last game of the year at home. Dude, you should be like, all right, beer prices half price. Come on in. Just make a margin. I guarantee you would make more money if you did that. Maybe they'll do that. Maybe I should be in charge of marketing. But either way, I thought it was really funny, though, that they have done this and looked at the beer prices. But TCU and Tulane, they know how to party. $3 beers. It's like happy hour over there. Also, in some other crazy story, I didn't even know what this was, but 5 men have been convicted of running an illegal streaming service called Jetflix for over 10 years that was larger than Netflix, Hulu, and Amazon Prime combined. And it was an unauthorized massive streaming service, and they did it for nearly a decade, and they got convicted there in Vegas. How crazy is that? I have never even heard of this, and maybe I'm the crazy one for not hearing this. But like the fact that went on for 10 years and no one stopped it, like how could it be bigger than anything, but yet, like, did you just not have any whistleblowers? Like that is, I'm not even mad about that. Like that's impressive. I know people were having like jailbroken, like Amazon Fire Sticks or whatever. And I don't know, maybe that's what that was. But the fact that they went on for 10 years and they just now got busted is pretty impressive. It's pretty impressive. Also, a little bit of sad note. I don't know if any of you guys remember this, but Taylor Wiley, and a.k.a. Taylor Tulu, he was a UFC fighter from UFC 1, but also he's from Forgetting Sarah Marshall, which is what I'm going to remember him for. He's the big guy that looked like the big baby, as they call him in Forgetting Sarah Marshall. Like it's like I wish I could play the clip, but yeah, it's this guy right here with the big bald head. When he walks in on Peter, Forgetting Sarah Marshall is one of my favorite movies, but he like walks in on Peter, he's like, "Are those happy tissues or sad tissues?" Like he was just really funny. So I saw that, I was like, "Oh, what a bummer! What a bummer! Hate to see that." So hate to end on a sad note, but hey, that's the way it goes sometimes. Either way, though, appreciate all of you listening in and watching into the John Nabors Show. Be sure to like and subscribe to all things Natty State Sports, as we're going to keep it moving into next week, having some content. I'm actually going to be in Little Rock on Monday for a golf tournament, so maybe a little bit different looking than what we're doing it here on this day. But either way, we're going to keep it going no matter what. Natty State Sports here on the John Nabors Show. So same sports show, same sports channel next Monday. Have a great weekend, everybody. We'll see you then.
1, 2, 3, let's go!
All Natty, all the time. Powered by Arkansas, for Arkansas. The John Nabors Show is live from the Natty State Sports